Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening service. It's for New Year's Eve. We'll go ahead and get started. We'll begin with the three treasures. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 We'll now have sutra chanting of the Jusei Ge. Gagon Chosegan Hishimu Jodo Shigamu Manzo Sefu Joshoga Gaomu Ryoko Ui Daise Shu Usai Shobingu Sefu Joshoga Gashi Jobutsuro Myosho Chojipo Kukyo Mishomon Sefu Joshoga Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Teninshi Jinnikien Daiko Fusho Musaido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaiichi Egen Meshi Konmoan Heisoku Shoaku no Tsuratsu Zen Shumon Koso Jo Manzo Iyoro Jipo Nichigatsu Shujuki Tenko Onpugen Ishu Kaiozo Koseku Doku Jo Dai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Butsu Gusoku Shutoku Ganne Shitsu Joman Tokui Sangaio Nyobutsu Mugechi Tsuratsu Mifusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoso Shigan Yakoka Daizen O Kando 国書天人統一妙見南蛮ダブ南蛮ダブ南蛮ダブ南蛮ダブ南蛮ダブ南蛮ダブがんにしくどく平等正祭道も大心往生安楽南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose南蛮dose We'll now have the recitation of the golden chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Okay, now we'll have the Dharma talk. So around the New Year's time, there is a lot of things that we do that have meaning behind it. So, for instance, within the Japanese and Japanese American community, we have different foods that we eat that represent different things. So, like, one of the favorite ones that I like is there's shrimp that you're supposed to eat, and then the shrimp looks kind of like a hunched over old person, and so that's to help you, get old. You can eat soba, which is supposed to represent, long life with the long noodles. A lot of stuff is kind of like long life, but really it's all these things that are wishing for fortune, good luck in the coming year. One of the things that we do within our tradition that we do every year at the beginning of the new year is we ring the bell 108 times. So unfortunately, we can't gather together. Everyone can't get a turn to hit the bell, but I don't know. I'll try ringing my bell 108 times, maybe by myself, and everyone can pretend that they did it also. Anyway, so this number 108 has significance. And perhaps some of you heard before, perhaps you haven't. And either way, I think it's good to always hear it again, to repeat it. Repetition is the best way to remember things, the best way that things are passed down, carried on. So traditionally, how the 108 is understood is that it's the 108 bonno, or the 108 desires. And we get the number 108 because of the way the Buddhists have understood perception, because our suffering comes from our desires in relation to the material world. So we have the 6 physical elements, which is kind of like the 5 senses. So they broke it down into eyes, right? Sight, ears, sound, nose, smell, tongue, taste, and then for touch they have body, but then they also have mind. So body and mind. So instead of the 5 senses, there's these 6 physical elements. And then these 6 elements contain 3 categories. So they have good, bad, and neutral. So if you have things that you see, that's good, seeing things that you see that are bad, or things that you see that are neutral, I guess. They don't really stir any kind of feeling. And the same thing for all of the senses, right? You smell something good, smell something bad, smell something that's, kind of neutral. I don't know what a neutral smell would be. Maybe mothballs? I don't know. Anyway, so you have the 3, the good, the bad, and the neutral for the 6. So 3 times 6. And then you get 18. So then the 18 are then broken down into either pure or unpure. So that's 2, which is 18 times 2 is 36. So from the good or bad, they could be either, pure intention or bad, impure intention. And then from that, it can be part of the past, the present, or the future. So you have these senses, and it's either pleasing, not pleasing, or neutral to you. And then from that, it's either pure or impure. And then from that, it's either in the past, present, or future. And if you multiply all those numbers up, I promise I did it earlier, it is 108 times. So understanding it that way, we have these desires, these connections to the material world that we're clinging on to. And the idea is that going into the new year, we let go of those. So of course we understand Buddhism as letting go of our attachments to live this non-attached life. And hopefully in this new year, we can do that. So we let go of everything in the past and we go into this next year without these attachments. So that's the idea behind the 108. But in researching, as I often do on the internet to look up things that I do not know, I also stumbled across 2 other theories. So the second one is not as interesting. It has to do with like the year. So it's the 12 months of the year, and then the solar calendar, so you make 24, and then the seasonal divisions of the Chinese calendar, which makes 72, and then somehow 108. I don't know. Anyway, so that one was weird. But anyway, the one that I thought was really interesting, which I may or may not have talked about before, but this idea that the bell represents human suffering. And so this idea comes from a idiom in the Japanese language called shiku haku, which stands for 4 sufferings, 8 sufferings, which the second character, ku, can be read, it's the pronunciation of it. It can be either suffering or it can be the number 9. So you have 4 sufferings, 8 sufferings, or 4 nines, 8 nines. And I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow if anyone attends the New Year's Day service, a little bit about like numbers and stuff. But anyway, the reason why it's the 4 sufferings and the 8 sufferings comes from a Buddhist background of the first 4 types of pain in life, which is age, disease, and death. The life, age, disease, and death. And then the 8 are the first 4 plus 4 other ones, which are parting from loved ones, meeting disliked ones, not getting what one seeks, and the pains of the 5 skandhas. So the 5 skandhas are essentially what creates beings, which is form, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. So kind of like the things that I was talking about before, this way of understanding how we perceive the world, those are like the 5 skandhas essentially. So we have the 4 sufferings and then the 8 sufferings, which the 8 actually also contains the first 4, which I'm not really sure why they differentiated them. But you have those 2, and it creates this idiom in Japanese talking about how suffering is just a part of life. When you multiply 4 by 9 and then 8 by 9, and you add those 2 numbers together, then you get 108. So that's another way of getting the 108, which includes that kind of idiom. But this idea of suffering being a part of life really resonated with me, obviously, on the Buddhist level, and it has that Buddhist background. But then just especially on this year in particular. I think all of us really suffered a lot, and obviously some people suffered more than others, but all of us were impacted in some way in just how this year has gone. Especially these other sufferings and the eighth suffering, having to part with other ones, whether that's other loved ones being passing away or just separating from our loved ones for an extended amount of time. And then also, I don't know, maybe meeting disliked ones, I guess. But then also not getting what one seeks, right? I think we're all looking forward to an exciting year, a fun year, and I don't think very many of us got the year that we were looking for. And then, of course, the perception that we have this attachment to how we expect things to be, and our sensations that we have, right? Like we like being outside, we like going out, we like doing certain things, but we're unable to do that. So in that sense, all of us have really suffered from these 8 sufferings, these 4 sufferings. Of course, one of those being sickness, which is the big thing that's been shutting down everything this year. Now, I know this sounds very negative and kind of a downer thing to think about, but with this idea of existing, this idea of life means that we have suffering, comes the second noble truth. So if we go from the first noble truth, right, which that life is suffering, that if we exist, if we live, that there will be suffering, which means in the next year, there might be suffering. I mean, there will be suffering, and it might be just as bad. It might be even worse. It might be a lot better, right? We don't know. But either way, that as we exist, as we live through the years, we're going to have suffering. They will vary in how much we feel it is suffering, but nonetheless, we will have suffering. And again, this is this like unhappy, maybe kind of thought. But when we go from the first noble truth to the second noble truth, that there is a reason why there is suffering, and because there's a reason, then there is a way for us to get rid of it. And of course, as Buddhists, we understand the reason for our suffering to be our ego, our selfishness, our attachment to the way we want life to be. And so the way to get rid of it is to let go of all of that. So going into this next year, I hope everyone understands that while we expect it to get better, we really don't know, and that's okay. We can't control the things that happen around us. We can only really control the actions that we make, the things that we do, the things that we say, and the things that we think. And so if we have control over those things, looking into the Buddhist path, if we try to do the thing that is most compassionate, if we try to do the thing that cares about the most people, if we worry about our own desires the least. This isn't to say not to take care of yourself. Obviously you want to take care of yourself. But if we're compassionate to ourselves, if we're compassionate to other beings as well, whether it's other people, whether it's our pets, whether it's the earth in general, whatever we're doing, hopefully this kind of mentality of recognizing that, yes, we had a hard year, yes, we suffered a lot, so even more so, to lessen the suffering in the world, we should try to be compassionate, we should try to be selfless. Hopefully that will continue to push us through the next year, and then by doing so, it will end up with less suffering for each and every one of us. Okay, we will conclude with Auld Lang Syne and Hotaru no Hikari. I think you're supposed to sing this at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. If you're supposed to do this on the new year, then I apologize. But from what I remember, I think it's the New Year's Eve service. So we'll go ahead and sing this. I wonder if I can put this somewhere where I can look better. No? Maybe up here? Does that work? Okay. All right. Get a little bit closer. Should old acquaintance be forgotten, never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgotten, days of Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet 踏み読む月重ねつついつしか年も過ぎのと明けてぞ今朝は別れゆく Okay, and with that, we will close the service. If you could all please join me in Gasho. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Naman Dubs, Naman Dubs, Naman Dubs, Naman. Okay, I'll ring the bell now 108 times by myself. So if you want to watch, or if you want to listen, I guess, you can't really see the bell. But if you want to listen to it, then you can. If you want, you can leave now. Okay. Hopefully I get this. I don't have to start over counting again. All right. All right, I think that was 108. I don't know if anyone else was counting along. Hopefully I didn't miss any. But if you want to, then you can go to your Butsudan at home and ring it one time for each of you. Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.